Hello again. So this liquid here is methyl ethyl ketazine, which I'm about to turn into hydrazine sulfate. I made this because I realised I probably should get back on the azide and tetrazole bandwagon at some point, in which case I probably need quite a lot of hydrazine sulfate. Also, my local hardware store for the first time started stocking concentrated bleach, so that whole step where I usually make hydrazine sulfate, I have an old video on it, where I have to mix calcium hypochlorite with some sort of sodium salt, like sodium sulfate or sodium carbonate, precipitate out the insoluble calcium salt, and then you're left with the concentrated sodium hypochlorite. That takes hours because of filtering and all that stuff. I can just skip that step now, but the downside is my store only currently sells it in 15 litre containers, which is far more than I think I'll ever use. But luckily it was cheap. It was only about $15 for the 15 litres plus $10 deposit for the container. So the only problem is if I want to return the container, that means I have to use up all 15 litres of bleach, which would be easy if I actually had a pool. But yeah, so if you've got a suggestion for what I can use 13 litres of bleach for, given it's 40 degrees outside, it's probably going to decompose anyway soon. So I decided to run it on quite a large scale because I found this 2 litre flask. I don't quite know where it's from. It says it's Pyrex. So I don't generally use the methyl ethyl ketazine method, which uses methyl ethyl ketone to extract the hydrazine as opposed to just neutralizing the bulk solution with acids. But I thought I'd do this reaction on quite a large scale, and so I did it at 3 times the scale, copying directly from another YouTuber. I can't remember his number or his name. It's UC238. I don't know, it's linked in the description. He's really professional, does really high class videos, and really good with the mechanisms as well. However, I thought I'd make this video. I didn't actually film the reaction because I didn't think it would be that interesting. I filmed the start because the start is quite interesting. Here I am posing like an absolute loser. But the start's quite cool because I felt, pretty cool using this huge flask, and I thought the hydrazine reaction would look pretty cool. So I set up the camera just to film the start bit. However, I make a slight, well, it's reasonably major human error here. I actually shut off the reaction vessel and allow it to build up pressure. How did I manage to do this? Well, generally I glad wrap the hydrazine reaction anyway, because you've got to really protect the hydrazine from the atmosphere and you from the hydrazine. Usually when I do it for something static, like something that just needs to be stored, I glad wrap it with a rubber band around it. But for some reason I just decided to also put a rubber band around this one, which would have probably been fine if it was just being heated. The reason I use plastic wrap and rubber bands to sort of seal things sometimes is that if the pressure gets too much, then the glad wrap just bursts, and that's not really a big serious consequence. However, in this case it sort of is, because we're generating carbon dioxide, which actually has some solubility in the water, which increases with the pressure. So while we're forming the carbon dioxide, the pressure's building up, so it's dissolving into the liquid more. So that means when the plastic finally bursts, it's going to be akin to like opening a shaken up Coke bottle, because all the carbon dioxide is dissolved under pressure and then it'll all be released at once. Obviously I have the camera off at that point, but about halfway through I turn it on to this. You can see that the hydrazine has sprayed all over the wall, and I have the bucket there for this purpose in the case that hydrazine reaction foamed over, because it does foam a lot at the start, but I wasn't expecting to foam at this stage a couple of minutes after I started. I'm really lucky here because I was standing in the lab and the glad wrap could have burst in any direction, so it really could have sprayed at me. I'm wearing the lab coat, but still it's a very concentrated sodium hydroxide solution with the hydrazine in it. It would have been very nasty if it sprayed all over me. Obviously I wasn't hurt, but we did actually suffer some physical damage. I had to erase a small amount of that structure that's been there for a while. But more importantly, I actually stripped up some of the paint, which usually isn't a big deal, but at that point I think the paint layer had only been down for about 30 hours. And already, the good news is I've got lots of paint, so I can just paint over that spot, or whatever, but really this nice clean bench did not last long at all. But the biggest amount of damage is my hot plate. Because the hot plate was hot, I was heating it at point, and so the concentrated sodium hydroxide solution with the hydrazine dripped onto the hot plate. It stripped the ceramic off this. This hot plate is still relatively new. Still obviously heats fine, but God, it looks ugly now. It's terrible. I didn't think the sodium hydroxide would strip the ceramic like that, but I guess if it's hot, it can do wonders. So, a little bit of damage, but the reaction still worked. I still got my methylethylketazine. So that was on a 3-time scale, and then the next time I ran it on a 2-time scale. So this is 5 times the amount of methylethylketazine that U234 million gets in his video. I guess I'll film me turning this into hydrazine sulfate in a sec, because I've done a lot of talking in my videos on this channel recently and not much actual chemistry, despite me actually doing lots of chemistry. So I'll film that.